Well, we'll be focusing on leadership, getting our internal democracy right in political parties that exist. And then, of course, they are projecting, trying to see what do we do to get all of these things right. So we've got some gentlemen joining us, and the first two are from our studios in Abuja. Alwan Hassan is a member of the PDP, and you also see, I beg pardon, a member of the APC, and then you also see Umar Ibrahim, who is the DG Tinubu Support Group. He's a former two-time commissioner, as a matter of fact, in Bauchi State, and so you'll also get to see Tunde Ajibulu, former member of the APC Presidential Campaign Council. All of them joining us to weigh in on the subject matter today. Gentlemen, good morning, and thank you for coming on today.
Good morning, Chamberlain.
Okay, so
good morning, Champs.
All right, so we already see some jostlings all over the place as to who is doing what, and well, lately we've seen some comments coming through from Pastor Tunde Bakare. We've seen comments coming through from former governor of Lagos and the party leader in the APC, Bola Tinubu. We've also seen different comments. In fact, today, some of the dailies, we did highlight how a particular perspective was about 2023 and how Oshibajo on a collision course with Tinubu pushes to succeed Buhari. So all of those dynamics. Is it too early or what? So let's start with you, Mr. Ibrahim, on this subject matter. So it comes across as though if your party is a party already focusing on these matters, isn't that going to affect governance at the end of the day? Because it looks as if this is already gaining momentum, as it were.
Sorry, come again?
Okay, I'm asking that at the moment, all of these jostlings, which is gaining momentum, isn't that going to distract from the main governance matters that the party or the government needs to carry out?
No, I wouldn't say so, because the party is actually trying to set up its structure, and hopefully it is when the party structure is been in place, then we'll see how we get the right people to get elected, and then governance will follow suit.
Now, I almost tossed you into another political party. That would have been a major one here today. But then, how do you see all of this jostling? Is it part of the political narrative, or you don't see this affecting governance at all?
Are you talking to me, Champs?
Yes, please.
Yeah, actually it won't. Chamberlain, I would like you to know that 2023 elections is just 1 year, 3 months from now. And the primaries will hold in September next year. That's less than a year. So I think it's okay, and it won't be a distraction because, of course, you find out that the leaders and the people intending to contest for 2023 are yet to come out and declare. I think most of it, it's us that see reason why one should come in that are talking about it. And I think it's good to talk about it. It's good to start talking about it early so that we will scrutinize whosoever it is that will preside over the affairs of Nigeria. We shouldn't leave it until it's close and we rush in and make mistakes.
Ibrahim, you are DG of Tinubu Support Group. So does this mean that you've got the mandate to proceed with this and canvass votes for him?
No, not really. You know, it's just a self-made organization. He doesn't even know it exists, and we just felt that he should be the right person to champion the governance coming 2023. And it's just a self-oriented organization trying to analyze the people's will, people's opinion, and see whether they are also in the same picture as we are. So by doing so, I think so far we've gotten a very, very large positive response through the collection of data and analyzing them from people's opinion generally. So, in fact, coming 23rd of this month, I think we are going to inaugurate our full structure in the whole of 36 states in view of the positive response we had from the general opinion.
Does that suggest what? Why do you think he's the best candidate? Why do you think?
Sorry? Cham?
Is it the best candidate? Ibrahim, that's for you. Ibrahim.
Why do you think he's the best candidate?
Okay. Well, based on his antecedents and, you know, in the whole of APC structure, who else can you think that has his pedigree? You can hardly have anybody that can contest to his experience and his precedence. We've seen what he has done in Lagos, and I think every Nigerian is aspiring for Nigeria to become like Lagos in terms of security, in terms of socio-economic status of the people, and above all, human development. So that's, I feel, what Nigeria needs right now.
Owan, can that be said to be the thinking of a large pool in the party?
Yeah. You see, Chamberlain, Asiwaju is a leader and he remains the leader of this party. He has held a stake in the party that no one else has ever tried going close to. He has brought forward representation of people to the country. And I would like to tell you, Chamberlain, and I would like to tell you that among the representation he has pushed forward, we found a genius. And that genius is the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. You see, I need to tell this out because he has 5 currencies. 5 currencies to contest elections for 2023. Competence, character, knowledge, capacity, and integrity. These 5 currencies are going to be the yardstick for whosoever becomes the president in 2023. In Professor Yemi Osinbajo, you find a professor that speaks the language of the average Nigerian. You find a lawyer who is more concerned about justice than technicalities. If you have the opportunity of speaking to this gentleman, you understand that his purpose is for a better Nigeria, a great Nigeria. He has found strength in our diversity. He has seen that the purpose of this country is for a better unity. I think these are just the little things we can say for now, and we will soon start rolling out facts and reasons why we feel he should be the president in 2023.
Say, look, I want to focus on my job for now. Do you have this authority also, just as Chamberlain asked Ibrahim the other time? Do you have the authority of the vice president to go ahead in this pursuit?
I don't. But okay. Of course, as politicians, we have to look in and out and pick whosoever will preside the affairs of this country in the next 1 year, 4 months. Ayo, it's just 1 year, 4 months. And if we don't start discussing this, I think we'll end up making mistakes. If you go to other climes, other countries, you find out that people that are being prepared to preside the affairs of a country are being managed over years, like 5, 10 years. You know, so but in our own case, people talk about this, and I'm sure, and I'll tell you that this will not distract governance. It will only enhance and make him work more, come out to do what he's supposed to do. He has been part of, and most especially, let me tell you, the reason why we see him as the next person in line is because he's been involved in every decision that was taken in this government. Ayo, if we want consolidation of a lot of things, especially on infrastructures that have started, we need to put somebody in it that was part of the process. And hence the reason why we want the vice president to be the president in 2023.
Well, Mr. Ajibulu, you have been a member of the APC Presidential Campaign Council. I'm just wondering, going by how this conversation has been going now, there are those who are wondering, 2022, we are not likely to have much governance because politics is literally going to take the center stage. So right now, as we've asked the other guests, isn't it too early, or you think it's just the appropriate time? Can you hear me, Mr. Ajibulu?
It looks frozen, though.
Oh, okay. Okay, let's go back to you, Mr. Ibrahim. Okay, yes, we can hear you. Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Nigeria. Like this gentleman have said, and I'm happy they said it, they have the mandate of nobody to be there. As a card-carrying member of APC, I can gather 100 people and go to APC for ratification of the group. So, and I don't understand why the press will sensationalize this. Tomorrow morning, I can decide I'm going to form a support group of Gwemi Saraki for vice president or president. You know, and for me, I believe it is a bit premature. And considering most of us on this forum are APC people, this is tantamount to putting the cat before the horse. When you consider the issues the party has today, that is my take on this. There are hundreds of support groups. There are hundreds of, but this is just not the time. We are putting the cat before the horse. We have to address the issue that APC has before we can move forward and then we can start discussing things like this.
What issues would you like to see addressed before then?
A lot of issues of internal democracy, issues of the NWC, the caretaker committee. These are issues that have to be addressed. We have major problems. I'm looking at us in the future. We saw the judgment of Governor Akeredolu. He's an SAN, the Senior Advocate of Nigeria. He himself comes out and says it is shaky. I mean, it is always best to err on the side of caution whenever we do. Democracy is very key. Some of the like a lot of top members of APC today are not even they're not registered members of the APC because they were denied accreditation materials. That is just those kind of things are not acceptable.
I don't understand.
Because the leader of the parties in individual states want to hold the structure, then you deny people their God-given rights. They are members of this party. They have played their dues. They paid their dues. They played their roles. They are denied. This is not in line with Mr. President's thinking and Mr. Vice President's thinking. The President has shown over and over again that he's a Democrat. He will not meddle. He expects fairness. So those are the issues that we need to deal with first before we can start to talk about who's going to be. Now, the two people mentioned, if you ask me personally, are they qualified to be to the president of Nigeria? 115% they are qualified. 115% they are qualified. You know, but this is just not the time. And these people we are even mentioning are critical into the solving part of the problems that we have in the Progressive Congress.
Well, just as you have said, you mentioned the fact that the president, may not be fully in support of all of the furore that you have referenced happening in the party, but you also would agree that the president is not unaware that these issues are there.
The president is not aware of what issues particularly.
I said the president is not unaware that the issues you raised are there. He is aware, and very, very soon we are going to see drastic and draconian changes in the APC, and it will be coming from Mr. President, because he advocates equity, fairness, and he's an advocate of democracy. And he will not sit down and fold his hands and watch what is going on in the party. Mr. President wants to leave a legacy. It will not be on his watch. It will not be on his watch that APC will stop to be. Well, we've heard very soon so many times in our history. So very soon is usually like it's never going to happen. So
we're having state congresses very soon. You will see changes.
How soon is very soon?
Well, the state congresses are supposed to come up. We're going to have a national congress very soon. We should have before the end of this year. We'll have the state congress. Yes, and then we'll have the national congress. Till things, and then I tell you something. It is also a function of how these congresses are conducted that will determine the future of our party.
All right, Ibrahim, well, you heard him. He said, look, it's way too early, and contrary to what you initially thought that it wouldn't affect things, it certainly will. So don't you think that you need to address those issues within the party before you canvass votes or support for the former governor of Lagos State?
No, I don't think so. Like my friend just rightly said, it's better we start early. And like I said, we are just trying to sample people's opinion for now, so that by the time we get to Asiwaju, we'll tell him that people's yearning wants you to come and contest, and we'll have more than enough evidence to put up for him to see and analyze. I don't think it's too early for now. Before we convince them to actually decide to contest, we have to prove to them beyond reasonable doubt that people are looking up to him, especially to contest, because we have come a long way, and APC is just trying to let me say, get on its feet for now. We've had 8 years trying to rewrite all what PDP has done for the past 16 years, and I feel we need continuity. Now, that continuity, we need somebody with the focus like that one of Asiwaju, and who has that vision and intellect of choosing the right people for the right job to deliver Nigeria. So I don't think it's too early.
All right, Mr. Hassan, you also heard Mr. Jibulu saying the other time that, look, there are more crucial issues to be addressed by these gentlemen that you both are conversing for support for. There are more, serious issues in government, I beg your pardon, in the political party, in the APC, for them to deal with before, you begin to canvass support for them to be president of Nigeria. Do you agree with him?
I really don't understand what my brother in the Zoom is talking about. What issues is he talking about? He's talking about there are issues in the party, and he's saying we're soon going to have a convention. I really don't know what the issues are that he's talking about, because as far as I'm concerned, we're okay, we're fine in the APC. We're about to go for state congresses, after which, by the end of this year, we'll have a convention and have a substantive NWC members. Saying it's too early, it is not too early. Ayo, is just next year, September, that every party needs to conduct its primaries. Primaries in the sense that there has to be a flag bearer of every party by next year, September, that would carry the party to elections in February 2023, which is just 1 year, 4 months. It's not early. It is not early. Nobody, they are not coming out, especially the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. He's not coming out to say, I want to contest. He is right now giving governance. And we're using his moves to tell and to tell people that he is the right person for the job if we want continuity, if we want consolidation. There is no better time to do the right thing, and it is not early in an election that is just by the corner, because it's just 1 year, 2 months, 3 months, I mean. So it's not too early. And looking at things in the APC is fine and comfortable. We are fine, we're okay. There is no problem in the APC. Is there any problem? I really want to be clear.
Well, you know, part of the things that he mentioned as the issues, Mr. Hassan, just a second. Part of the issues that he mentioned, I mean, he referenced the Supreme Court ruling. He referenced the fact that it is not normal to have a caretaker committee chairman governing the affairs of the party as opposed to a national chairman. And he also referenced the fact that, you know, the structures in many of the states, they are not as strong as they ought to be. Consequently, you know, there's a lot of disinterest, a lot of unsettlement in the minds of many, many people within the APC. From where you stand, that's the standpoint. But can you say the same for every member of the party?
Ayo, what judgment are you talking about? Is it the Ondo judgment? The Ondo judgment has clearly made it clear that there is no problem having a caretaker. And let me tell you why it's legal to have a caretaker. The convention has given neck of the party to steer the affairs of the party in between conventions. And it was neck that chose to form a committee that will steer the affairs of this party to convention. Ayo, you and I knew how this party almost exploded when people were clamoring for and against former chairman of the party, Adams Oshomole. So I think there is relatively peace in the APC now. And in organizing such things, you've got to take your time. And of course, a lot of events, a lot of things are going on. We've just registered new members of the party. We've done congresses for ward, we've done congresses for local government. I personally have been part of this process. We're going for state congresses by the 16th of this month. And we'll have a substantive NWC, that's the National Convention, by the end of this year. Ayo, I don't really know why this is supposed to be a problem. What is the problem there? The convention has given the NEC the powers to steer the affairs of the party in between conventions, and it is the NEC that has approved of this committee that is steering the affairs of the party to convention. There is no problem about it, and there is no legal judgment or implications in this. So anyone, maybe someone is just, my brother there is just saying his opinion, and maybe, yeah, of course you have issues in states when it comes to a party affair, especially a ruling party. You have issues here and there, you have hitches, which, of course, what you need to do is to sit down and just be involved, participate and be involved, and the system will recognize you. That is my advice to the gentleman.
Well, Mr. Ajibulu, you heard him. It appears as though you're not all on the same page on the matter.
Well, thank you very much. Well, I'm not sure if my brother sitting down there, I'm not sure if he's a lawyer, if he's a senior advocate of Nigeria. I'm not sure what his qualifications are. But we've had a minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, meaning a higher ranking member of the party than he is, in the person of Festus Keyamo. He has come out, he has raised the alarm. our governor, Rotimi Akeredolu, an APC governor, one of the critical stakeholders, also a senior advocate of Nigeria, who won by the skin of his teeth a 4-3 judgment, has come out to raise issues. We should not play ostrich. I'm sure you know what the ostrich does when there's danger ahead. He simply buries his head in the sand. He buries his head in the sand and then he believes the trouble will go away if he's not facing it. And my brother is talking, yes, that's his opinion. That's my opinion. And then you see, these are some of the issues that happen in APC a lot. And sometimes, you know, you just want to say, guys, don't you understand? We are all on the same team. We are all on the same team. Why are we concerned? It is always better to err on the side of caution. You know, if he feels that APC is fine, if he feels that APC is perfect, well, that's it. Maybe he's so concerned in the movement, in the support group that he has, and projecting the vice president, who, by the way, is an erudite, intelligent man, more than qualified to be president of this country. But is this the time for support groups to come up and just create unnecessary tension on the polity when there are bigger fish to fry? I say no. I say no. Our national leader, Asiwaju, is he qualified to be president? 120%. He's personally known to me. You know, he's a mentor. He's my leader. But is this the time you come up and then, I mean, see what the Independent is saying. See what the Independent newspaper said today. I watched your program. The Independent newspaper said Asiwaju and Oshibajo, the vice president, they are coming to a collision course. How is that possible? Asiwaju remains our leader. And I guarantee you, Asiwaju is not aware the support group has come here. The support group has come here today. Neither does the vice president know. They are watching it as well on TV as most Nigerians are watching it on TV. Let us face the facts. Let us not hide. Let us face the facts. And the facts are dealing with critical issues within the party. If my brother says APC is peaceful, if my brother says APC is perfect, well, I leave it to him.
But does it then mean that canvassing for those two gentlemen will detract from addressing the problems? Because no matter what happens, the Congress will hold, the party will take their decisions. So how does this detract from doing what they're supposed to do?
How does what? Sorry, I didn't get that.
How does their canvassing for those two gentlemen affect those items you've mentioned? Because the Congresses will still hold, the party leadership will still talk about those issues.
Chamberlain, you're a journalist. You have analyzed the newspapers today and I watched you. Tell me, and you talked about it. You talked about it. You guys, you sensationalize issues. Because is it a big deal that the APC has ratified a support group for the vice president? It is not a big deal. Like I said earlier, tomorrow morning, I can take 300 people and go to the APC camp carry members and register a support group for myself, Tunde Ajibulu, for Gbemi Saraki, that I want her to be the first vice president of Nigeria, for you, Chamberlain, if you're a camp carry member of APC. So it's not a big deal. So why would the press? So this is also an issue with press sensationalism. What is the big deal? Why is it headline news?
You won't blame
Mr.
the press, Mr. Ajibulu. Just a second. You won't blame the press for being interested in these issues for one main reason. We have had a long-fought battle choosing the right leaders for Nigeria. And people continually get disappointed after, you know, every election, maybe after 4 years and all of that. So picking on the issues now for the press is, look, it's better, the Yorubas, you are Yoruba man, it says, the person whose eyes are deep, will start crying from afar. Maybe that's what the people are doing right now. You know, so you won't blame the press for being interested, or Nigerians at all, for being interested in who will become their leaders in another 1-2 years from now.
Democracy evolves. Democracy is evolving in Nigeria. And then that is why we have this kind of teaching problems. And that is why we should address it. By the time we have internal democracy, when intra-politics is democratized, then we will have the correct machinery Do you understand? To bring up the people that are supposed to rule Nigeria, to bring up credible people, and we should be talking of. So why do you think issues like indirect primaries, direct primaries come to play? Why do you think those kind of issues come to play? It's about interest. We should be looking at that. We should democratize internal party politics across Nigeria, across political parties. It should be democratized. It's not peculiar to APC only. We should be able to have free and fair primaries. We should be able to have.
President fabricates these things. These things happen. They're happening at the moment.
What's happening, Chamberlain? What is happening at the moment? What is happening? Tell me.
What the independent reporter, this isn't happening. How two groups are canvassing votes for their principals?
Okay, you should ask, why don't you ask the chairman of the support group for the vice president? And ask the chairman of the support group.
Okay, we'll do that when we return. We'll take it to them when we return in just a moment. So, Mr. Awal Hassan and Ibrahim, just stand by. We're back in a moment. All right, welcome back. Well, Awan, how is this going to be managed? I mean, I know politicians will do what they have to do, but from those who are looking from the outside, they think, but wait a minute, isn't canvassing vote or support for the VP going to put him in a tough position with Asiwaju? That's why the press thinks. Isn't that going to be some sort of coalition?
No, not at all. Not at all. You see, the beauty about democracy, Chamberlain, is there is always a consensus. And I believe the Southwest will sit down with its leaders and decide on that one person we're clamoring for. So that aside, I need to address something my brother there has said about the governor of Ondo State and Festus Keyam's statement. I would like to inform him that these people spoke in their own interest, and he should know that, because as he was speaking on party politics, he now mentioned interest. And I'll tell him clearly that they were talking in their own interest, and because there is a contradiction in what Akeredolu is saying now, because the same guy, the same Akeredolu, promoted and supported tenure elongation during the former chairman of our party, Oyegun, Chief Oyegun, when we had a crisis of tenure elongation. Akeredolu was one of the people that was pushing for that tenure elongation, which was illegal. And today you're coming to tell us that the caretaker committee has no legal backings. Why? Because it almost affected his elections. You don't do that. You don't do that as a son. This is the same person that has come out to confuse the polity by saying power must move to the south. I don't listen to people like that. And if you talk about Festus Keyamo, son, with all due respect, he wanted the structure in Delta State. In the political structure in Delta State, Festus is nowhere in the political structure. We have the Deputy Senate President, who has been a politician throughout his life. He was a commissioner, he was councillor commissioner, and now he's Deputy Senate President, or senator, and now Deputy Senate President. You can't have the whole structure of a state where that man comes from. There is a former governor of Delta State in the APC. So Festus Keyamo wanted to get rid of the, you see, it's all about interest. He wanted to get hold of the structure during the ward and local government congresses and even the state congresses. But he couldn't because, of course, when did he start this game? I think I started politics before Festus Keyamo. So the statement he brought out, with all due respect, he's a lawyer, that was his own interpretation of judgment, and it was full of his interest. That is all I can say about that. So whenever you hear people talking, especially in politics, an interpretation of the law is not done by lawyers. It usually should be done by the Supreme Court. So whatever it is a lawyer comes in to tell you based on an argument or an interpretation, it's his mere opinion. Most times that's what I understand with the law. And there is nobody that can come and justify that the caretaker committee is illegal. Because, of course, our NEC has that right, and I've said it so many times. It has the right, and the convention has given it right, and it's in our constitution. that the NEC has the right to steer the affairs of the party in between conventions. And whatever it is this party caretaker committee has done will be ratified on the convention ground end of this year. So I think there is no problem on that. I'm talking about my vice president, Ayo and Chamberlain. Let's be careful in the way we pick leaders. The process of picking leaders. Let's try to shy away from eligibility. Let's start picking up on suitability. The Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is a man of intellect. He is a generational thinker. When you sit with him and give him talk to him about issues, and you hear his submissions, and you understand what kind of a person we have as a Vice President today. He has chaired and has been in this government in the last 6 years. He has acted twice, and we've seen a lot of things he's done. And in fact, let me just say this straight. We will not be the ones to tell him. Our plans are for the president to fulfill his purpose, to fulfill his legacy. If at all we want to consolidate on what this government has started, the president should be the person to present the vice president to us. If not for anything, for the 12 million votes that the president has been holding since 2003, we would like him to present the vice president to Nigerians. We're not going to talk to him. Of course, it's too early. And for somebody like the vice president, if you go to him with a political matter, he comes out to tell you, I've never met him, but I know he'll come out to tell you that it's time for governance. He's so much concerned about governance. He's so much concerned about the poor people. You see, I really want us to understand the facts and figures on what we are talking about.
Now, two things there. About the opinion of the lawyers who you have mentioned. Well, that notwithstanding, isn't their opinion validated by the minority judgment that came through?
Minority judgments are always not considered. Majority judgments are always the ones that are considered. So it does not matter. You always have a minority judgment in things you do, especially in the courts. They don't matter in Supreme Court. What matters is the majority judgment. And that is what is in place. And that is what is confirmed by law. So the minority judgment does not matter.
Okay,
it doesn't matter.
Well, when you then say it's too early, what part exactly is too early? When you're talking about the president presenting the vice president or canvassing votes for or support for the vice president. Is it all too early?
You mean
I heard you say it's too early.
To say,
what did you mean by it's too early?
If you have the president coming out to tell you that the vice president is the person that will take over from me, you bring chaos into the system. You bring chaos into the structure of the APC. Our president is a man that allows everybody to air his views, opinions, and rights. So it is not yet time. The party primaries will be somewhere in September next year. And before then, not even coming to the president. As the Southwest is a region that is always successful in consensus. And I assure you, and I would like to tell Asiwaju this. He is the leader of this party. He has presented people that are outstanding, the likes of Fashola, the likes of the vice president. We have found a genius, and I keep on saying it. Asiwaju should also fulfill his purpose in making the vice president a president in this country in 2023. And if he does that, after the 8 years of the vice president, Asiwaju will be writing his name in the sands of history of Nigeria. Because when you look at things as they are, in the Nigerian history, there is going to be one man as a vice president that his name will never be forgotten, even without being a president, and that is Professor Yemi Osinbajo. So we are pleading and begging. In fact, we will take our campaign to Asiwaju come and present this man to us. Have a consensus in the Southwest. We want the Vice President to preside over the affair of Nigeria come 2023. Period.
Mr. Ibrahim, I mean, I know that politicians always negotiate and shift grounds. Is this something, you know, you or the team will be willing to shift grounds, especially when they talk about generational shifts, and ensure that the VP takes this one?
Well, like he said, it all depends on how the negotiation or well, in my opinion, actually, let me even start by saying, well, we at the APC wouldn't want to repeat what happened in 2015, how PDP lost its government. It's better based on, like I earlier said, based on sampling, analyzing people's opinion. It's better you get the popular candidate to get the ticket, just so as not to repeat what happened in 2015. You know, if you don't really get what the people want, what the people are yearning for For instance, Chamberlain, I would like to tell you, so far in our little organization, the Tinubu Support Group, we have registered so far more than 500. And believe you me when I tell you there are more than 5,000 support groups yearning for Asiwaju to come and contest for the presidency. You'll be shocked. So now, the popularity is overwhelming. We begin to consider to see the party leader as a phenomenon. You know, I don't know what can stop that or who can stop that. The people's response is it's overwhelming. So, like you said, the Southwest are usually very, very good, and they are always successful in terms of resolving their own issues, especially political issues. So, until when we get there, whatever our leader says, we'll be okay with it. But for now, we are actually considering the people, what the people want, what the general opinion says, you know, nationwide. We are not talking about personal interest here, no. We are not considering what one has done, no. We are talking about what people want, who is the right person to fill in the whole space with the national cohesion and the popularity that cuts across the whole 36 states, especially in the north. What I'm actually seeing from the north in terms of support for Asiwaju, it's becoming something else. So with that, we have more than enough reason to go and meet Asiwaju and say, please come and contest for the sake of Nigeria. Now that aside, when you talk about building APC, we have to give it all to Asiwaju, because if not because of his cooperation, or if not because him agreeing to the merger of ACN, APC, ANPP, and APP, we wouldn't have. I don't think APC would have been in government.
Okay. Well, let me take this back to my apologies, Mr. Ibrahim. Some points have been made there. Mr. Dubulu, I mean, here we are again, and of course, you may want to react to some of the things that you've heard both gentlemen say, but in concluding, it would seem like there isn't strong enough persuasive carry-along of these two gentlemen, and perhaps a good number of support groups that you say, and Ibrahim has also confirmed, exist within the party.
So for me, I belong to no political support group as of now. And first things first, my younger brother there, it is not in his, I don't think he's in his place. He's saying he's going to is going to mobilize his people. Well, he has a right to go and meet Asiwaju. What does he mean? Is he saying Asiwaju is not qualified to contest for presidency of Nigeria? If he's saying that, it's ludicrous. If that's what he's saying, it's ludicrous. Anyway, leaving that aside, we all know politics is Nigeria, and Chamberlain and Ayo, in fact, also you guys are politicians, because you have interviewed so many politicians, you have said booby traps, you have done a lot, you are even more savvy than a lot of us in this game. But I will posit something. It is impossible for the Vice President of Nigeria to run for presidency of Nigeria without the support of Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, the leader of our party. And I also posit, it is impossible for Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, if Asiwaju Bola Tinubu decides to run for presidency of this country, which is more than eminently qualified to do, if he decides to, I can guarantee you the vice president will be 110% supporting him. But he has not come out to say, the vice president has not come out to say, we're talking about elections that are over a year away, and we all know Nigerian politics. 24 hours at times is too long in Nigerian politics. 6 hours sometimes is too long in Nigerian politics. So to come up at this stage and be throwing up candidates, when there are critical issues to be addressed within the party, I just think, that's not
just one more thing for you, Mr. Ajibulu. What if, I mean, both of them, will assume they're loyal, they're party men, strong one, leaders in the party. What if it's then said, or it occurs that this scenario plays out where the party says, gentlemen, this is the party position, and whether one of you or either of you like it or not, if the party says do this in the interest of the party and the country, wouldn't they do it whether it favors them or not?
Of course they will. They are Democrats. They are part of the hearts and pillars of this.
So that means, doesn't that then mean that impossibility is nothing?
Of course. So look, they are over. I said this before. Do you know what support groups are? I explained what support groups are. Timberline, if you have your APC card, tomorrow morning, me and you will form a support group. That's what they feel, which they're allowed to feel. And you know what? Millions of people feel that way about different people. Millions of people want Asiwaju to be president. Millions of people want Kwankwaso to be president. Millions of people want, millions of people want the vice president. It's people's opinion. But however, there is a machinery and there's a structure that throws up candidates for the party.
All right.
These two gentlemen, they're Democrats at heart,
yeah.
And at the end of the day, whatever the party decides is what they will abide with.
Okay. Gentlemen in Abuja, if you could just make it in 30 seconds, just give us your closing comments.
Okay. Chamberlain, I would like to clear something very quickly. He said something like, I meant Asiwaju is not eligible to contest or cannot contest. I didn't say that. I said we will take our campaign to him so as to have a consensus. If not for anything, Chamberlain, I wouldn't like to see our leader, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and the vice president contesting in primaries, in the APC primaries. So that is why we're taking our campaign to him, for us to have a consensus and flag up one person to take to primaries, which is the Vice President of the Federal Republic. And another thing I want to clear on Ibrahim's notion about it's not about what someone has done, it is about what people like. I think that is a very wrong notion, Mr. Ibrahim. The best thing to do for us in Nigeria today is to start campaigning on what one has done. Everybody coming in to campaign for any political office from now henceforth should tell us what he has done. We are tired of what I will do. Tell us what you have done, not what you will do.
All right, Mr. Ibrahim.
The President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria has done a lot. To
okay, Awan, we hear you.
As the President in 2020.
All right, Mr. Ibrahim, your closing thoughts, please.
Yes, I wasn't actually just saying that what once did. We are saying that first of all, we want to, because of what happened in 2015, to avoid that, we wouldn't want to go for the unpopular candidate. We surely want to hit on the most popular candidate. And secondly, based on what someone has done, we've still Lagos. You need not nobody to tell you how Lagos, or what Lagos is all about. You know, it's all about a vision. And that is what took Lagos to where it is today. We all know that in terms of economy, in terms of security and development, and human capital development as well. So in terms of what he has done, it will take the whole day trying to list them. Now, he's a kingmaker, yeah, quite well. So, lastly, I would like to say that we are surely going to go and meet him very soon, because we have gathered more than enough proof and
all right, Ibrahim,
to be able to convince him to come around for the presidency.
Okay, and we need to anchor at that point, actually. Omar Ibrahim, Alwan Hassan, and Mr. Tunde Ajibulu. Gentlemen, thank you all for your time this morning.
Dr. Chiwike Uba, a development economist, and Dr. Anthony Chibo, an international economic strategist and CEO, African Socio-Cultural Development Foundation, join us this morning to discuss implications of the figures in the 2022 budget. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us today. Let me begin with you, Dr. Chibo. Well, it's not an elephant in the room. It's big, and it cannot be ignored. And that's the fact that, on the one hand, there is increased borrowing, and on the other hand, people are saying it is unsustainable, and yet it'll seem like we spend a lot more on recurrent expenditure as opposed to investing to produce. What's your standpoint?
Thank you for having me, first of all. If a country, it's a well-known fact, okay, that if a country, any nation is going to go forward, if it's going to go towards economic development, it has to produce, it has to manufacture. It's encouraging that a country must invest. All investment must be geared towards manufacturing, production, and production. Economic development, which I'm more interested in than economic growth, is predicated on producing what is taxable. Economic activity increasing, and that economic activity contains production and manufacturing of goods and services that are replaceable of imports and itself exportable. So, you know, expenditure, all expenditure must be focused on that.
Do you see that? Do you even see us in that trajectory? Or do you see us in that trajectory, prioritizing expenditure for production? Because over the years, what we see is just maintain status quo and manage as opposed to lead.
My straight answer to you is no. I don't see us in that trajectory. I don't. I think with a little bit of advice, we could be on that trajectory. But for now, it's obvious that we are not in that trajectory. It's obvious. Okay, listen. Right now, it's obvious that, and it's been said that we do not have enough revenue for government to carry out their duties. We are borrowing, yes. We are borrowing to sustain government expenditure, as it were. One of the things I would like to highlight is that if we're going to borrow, then we must be investing in production. We must be investing in all sorts of innovation to increase economic activity. Why? Because production, economic activity, and when I say production, I mean goods and services, and the transactions are taxable. And when you can increase the amount of economic activity in your country, your revenue is by knock-off effect going to go up. So I don't see us in that trajectory, but I don't see us too far away from getting to there with a little
but
bit of advice.
the authorities have said that that is what they are doing. And as a matter of fact, those borrowings are part of what has made capital available for us to spend our way out of recession.
Okay. I looked for, okay, you see, the bone of, the pivotal problem we're having now is a downturn or a lack of government revenue. The people that are against borrowing give the reasons that we don't have enough revenue to pay back. When you look at our debt servicing to revenue ratio, it's alarming. Yes, government herself says that they don't have enough revenue, and that's why they're borrowing. So the pivotal thing here is revenue, the lack of generation of revenue. Now, I looked at, I looked at several write-ups to find out what exactly is the blueprint for an increase in revenue. And what I could find, I stand to be corrected though, what I could find was that government says that we are going to, through administrative reforms in excise and taxes, revenue is expected to increase, and they want to increase it from what it's about now, 8 to about 15% by 2025. Good, very good. But I don't see that, I don't see anywhere, I could be wrong, but I don't see an entrepreneurial emphasis on what should be done and what is being done on increasing revenue. Maybe because I'm an economic strategist, I feel there is more that could be done. There's a ton of ideas that could be done. So I don't see it. I see, okay, if you look at the budget right now, the three sectors that got the most vote was, I think, education, defense, naturally defense, education, and forgotten the third one. My opinion would have been, there should have been a sectorial development investment in power. Why? Because of the production thing again. You're not going to produce anything if you don't have power. And we do not have power. I know we've tried and tried and tried over time to resolve our power issue. But listen, if it's not resolved, then it's not resolved. And if it's not resolved, you're not going to produce. You're not going to attract people that want to produce and manufacture. And if you don't produce and manufacture, you're in trouble. You're not going to get your currency where it's supposed to be. You're going to remain an importation country. And that's not good.
Okay. Well, Dr. Uba, I don't know which side of the divide you would place yourself in all of this conversation that we are having. But let me begin with you on this one. There were a couple of deficits pointed out by the president in the budget speech that he presented to the National Assembly. For non-oil revenue, we had a shortfall of 34% of the projection of the budget as of July this year, and something in the region of 50% less than expected of revenue from the oil sector itself. And now, of course, there will be assumptions, there are assumptions in this budget as well, especially concerning oil revenue and all those other issues. Where do you see us going with this budget?
Well, thank you for having me again this morning. With respect to the projections that the government has made, most especially in the oil revenue projection, you see the projections that we are projecting to have produce 1.88 million barrels of oil per day. When in 2021, the average as at August, given the data presented by the Honorable Minister, it has hovered between 1.55 to 1.60. And you find out that, yes, the benchmark, or if benchmark may be realizable, as I said recently, but the production output is way beyond what it should be. So for me personally, that is being over ambitious and also leading us to also what we're experiencing in 2021 budget, which is very unrealistic. On the non-oil sector, recently, if you check the statistics also, we have done better in the non-oil sector, which primarily is driven by the private sector, which also brings us to the point that we need to grow the private sector, get them to play more in the economy in order to drive the kind of development that we need. So for non-oil sector, we might do better, but overall, I don't see our revenue hitting up to 10.13 trillion as have been projected. It's not possible given what we have. I'm also given that the tax revenue has increased in the first quarter of the year. It's a short-run approach. People will hit back. People pay tax based on revenue, based on production. We have seen that production and even the productivity in the private sector is also going back. Insecurity is on the increase and all that. And people are no longer doing as much as they have done in the first quarter of the year. And from next year, we are entering elections year, campaigns and all that to start. So the implication is also that we might have a further reduction in non-oil sector revenue going forward. Yes, so much has been budgeted for defense, security, and all that. But we've seen also that has been the trajectory over the years. Whereas we are budgeting more on security, we have seen that insecurity is also on the rise. So overall, I believe that is the revenue projection is one that is not realizable. We to hover between 4 to 5 trillion naira.
Well, Dr. Obad, just a quick one on something that you just said. Now, you talked about the budget to security, for security and defense, simply because insecurity is quite high. But there are those who also believe that the main catalyst for insecurity is poverty. I mean, and the belief is that if we increase our economic capacity, increase the capacity for people to produce, to earn money, get jobs, provide employment and all those things, that insecurity would naturally, settle significantly.
Yeah, I agree with that opinion. Actually, if you create jobs, people get busier and the propensity to get involved in crimes and all that gets reduced. Now, if you look at the budget, the details that have been released, even though I have not gone through it, education got just 5%. Defense got 15% of the budget, infrastructure got 8.9%, and social development got 5.8%. Now, the big question, we discussed this issue last year also. The social security or social investment money, if you look at the amount, 863 billion naira, I am not saying it's not good to give people money, dash money. But the issue is that you have to do a cost-benefit analysis to determine whether dashing money is the best approach to dealing with the increasing poverty in the land. What happens if we create, using private sector players that have been determined to be doing the right work, to create industries within the localities? It could be at local government levels. When that happens, what will happen is that we create the kind of job that we need that will get people busy. Secondly, education is very important, the basic education. People get into crime also because they value their lives less. And that is also a function of how well they are educated. And we are playing with education. I was just running through the figures while waiting to join this event. And I also observed that the government in 2022 also has budgeted huge sums of money to agencies that are doing little or nothing for the development of the country. And I keep asking, when you have a multiplicity of agencies, government agencies, that every year they got money, pay salaries without any other thing, what do we intend to achieve? For instance, I just discovered that an agency they call the National Agency for Science and Engineering and all that was the budget for salaries was 54 billion naira. The big question, I'm just knowing about them this morning. What have we achieved in engineering and science and technology over the years? National Atomic Energy Commission also got a large sum of money. If you go through that budget, you will see a lot of deficits arising from these agencies that have done little or nothing to jumpstart our economy. You know, my recently I asked, why do we have multiplicity of agencies even for development? We have the Infrastructure Concession and Regulatory Agency, we have the Development Bank, we have the part of Industry and Knowledge. And annually, we budget huge sums of more money for these agencies. Yet, the PPP vehicle that would have facilitated private sector investments in some of these infrastructure development are not there. And we keep budgeting money. Why don't you deploy funds from those kinds of agencies and put them where they will have more impacts on economic development? I keep using the word the development instead of growth for obvious reasons. Sometimes we have this GDP growth and people are clapping. For me, those are bubble growth that has little or no impact on the overall well-being of our people. It's like one who has always bought aircraft, pack them at the tarmac, and borrow money to fuel those aircraft. Unlike one who will buy an aircraft and put it into productive use, he will still fly the same aircraft and will still make money from those kinds of investments. For now, we are just doing, spending money without looking at the other hand of it. Asking ourselves, it go better for you or go better for you.
And I'm speaking about blocking or addressing those leakages. I mean, part of what was said is that removal of subsidies was part of the overall measure at addressing these leakages that we have. How do you see that playing out? Mr. Chibo, that's for you.
Yeah, you see, if you ask me right now, what is, okay, first of all, I am more concerned on ensuring that government revenue increases. And the number one thing, or at least one of the top things I would recommend, is to block the leakages. And the first thing I would do or recommend is to remove fuel subsidies. It's taking a whole chunk of government revenue. Now, if that is going to be so, any professional advice to any company or any country that says it's losing revenue or it's not getting as much revenue as it needs to spend, the first professional advice you would give such a country is to cut down expenditure. And I would suggest along that lines that cutting down, when we say expenditure, we mean government expenditure, the amount of money government is spending on government. And the first thing I would do is to cut down the amount of money government is spending on public appointed servants and elected public servants. Why? Because it now gives you the moral authority down the road to remove something like fuel subsidies, which is a very delicate subject matter, and I understand hasn't been done because it could cause upheaval. But if you start, if I was to advise strategy, if you start by reducing the cost of government, then you have the moral standing down the road to do that. So increase of revenue is so important. Now, plugging the leakages. Plugging the leakages in any government or in any society needs a cultural change. We can't run away from that. I love economics. I'm an economist. I love economics, and economics is a very powerful tool. But economics does not explain all human behavior. But guess what does? Culture, especially in this case. The economic figures don't add up because the culture provides a lot of leakages to your sincere input, your sincere investment in getting things done. So if your sincere investment in infrastructure is going to yield what the desired result, you must plug the leakages. And the only way you're going to plug the leakages is to
Dr. Chibo, just a second.
I'm sorry, I was hearing myself.
No, go ahead. I mean, go ahead.
Yeah.
You wanted to say, how do we plug the leakages?
Yeah, the leakages, you have to change culture. You see, each time you institute an anti-corruption drive, what you're trying to do is to enforce a culture change. Because it means that there is an innate culture that is making what you put into all economic plans not to yield. And so you are stopping people, or you're stopping the people from the culture of diverting what was supposed to be for a particular project to another. That's a culture change.
I wanted to ask you,
anti-corruption is a culture change.
I wanted to ask you what purpose the Auditor General's report over the years could have served in blocking the leakages. There has been no consequence for, those who have been indicted in the reports over the years. Nothing has been done. And it is supposed, the Auditor General's report is supposed to be a strong instrument to fight corruption, stem the tide of corruption, block all of these leakages. But it would seem like nothing is happening in that regard.
Well, see, Ayo, look, it's economic fact that you cannot continue to put water in a basket that is leaking. You are not going to go anywhere economically if you do that. We have to decide as a people to change our culture. And the government has to decide to enforce that change of culture. Okay. If not, there is nothing we're going to talk about today.
All right.
The figures, the assumptions, the appropriations that is going to actually yield results.
All right, just if you can talk about this briefly as we wind down. Pardon me, Dr. Chibo. States,
yes,
they equally have budgets. What role or how should we approach the function, the essence of states also having their own budgets?
You see, states, I dare say local governments, but you asked me about states, must be entrepreneurial in budgeting and spending. What do I mean by entrepreneurial? You know who an entrepreneur, what an entrepreneur is? Somebody that designs, invests, and plans, and invests towards expecting certain results out. And that result is profit for an entrepreneur. In the terms of government now, that result will be revenue. Revenue and, of course, creation of jobs and economic development for the people. Every state is duty-bound to operate in this way. So you use your local resources and entrepreneurially think of what raises your revenue. Revenue, revenue, revenue.
Okay.
Now, guess what? If you have raised your revenue, you now apply it towards economic development. But I am saying that currently, if you apply increased revenue towards economic development, you will not get the yielded results because the culture will not allow it so. So we need to decide as a people, what is it that we want? Do we really want to economically develop? Because you know what? We're talking about figures. I'm very uncomfortable talking about economic growth figures because they do not represent anything to the common man.
Okay.
You could have an economic growth of 4.2%, 6.6%, and you are witnesses to the fact that the common man doesn't feel it because there is a difference between economic growth figures represented by GDP, okay, and economic development.
Okay, well,
which is
Dr. Chibo,
representative of the quality of health.
Yeah. Well, so many issues to take on this, but we've run completely out of time. Let me quickly take the closing comments of Dr. Chiwike Ubah on this issue. You referenced the PPP the other time. What must we do if the private sector is going to play a significant role in the economic development that you and Dr. Chibo have highlighted earlier?
Well, there must be, let me also toe the line of Dr. Chibu earlier on, we need to have a mindset shift in the mindset as a government to encourage the private sector, making the environment more friendly for them to play. Now, there's a question I wanted to respond to before now in terms of how to block the leakages. These things are continuing just as a result of inadequate public consultation in government processes. During budgeting, when these reports are released, how do we get the public know about them?
Oh dear. Seems that that's a good place to leave it, one might say. Sincere apologies that had to happen. Dr. Chiwike Ubah is a development economist as well as Dr. Anthony Chibo. Thank you, gentlemen, for being a part of our conversation this morning.
All right, and so we've got some messages that came through from you, your email. This first one comes from Adeniyi, and he's talking about leadership. So Adeniyi's email, he thinks that leadership and party politics, if we have to get it right, certain things have to be done. So now we're just waiting for that first one to come up so we can just go ahead with it. So he says, well, you have embarked on an aggressive campaign for someone to take up the leadership of the most populous black nation in the world, and you tell Nigerians he's not even aware of the existence of your group, let alone campaigns. Wow. And you expect Nigerians to believe that? And by the way, why do you decide for them to take over the mantle of leadership when they have, is it consented or not consented, he meant? All right, we'll get your message though.
Well, this one is from Paul. Says, how I wish our media can concentrate more on programs that will enlighten Nigerians about economic empowerment and financial health.
You just did.
I'm of the opinion that our media should invite experts that will expose Nigerians to lucrative value-added businesses, invite serious financial institutions that are ready to give financial support to educate Nigerians about how to access the available facilities. Enough of concentration on free publicity for political jamborees and gatherings towards 2023, which adds nothing to the well-being of Nigerians. The current strategy of our politicians towards 2023 is to impoverish Nigerians, and it goes on and on.
Well, Afolabi says, whoever is against speaking about who becomes Nigeria's president come 2023 is not sincere nor interested in the well-being of Nigeria. The earlier the media dug into the credentials of all the possible presidential candidates so that Nigerians can make informed judgments, the better for the future of Nigeria.
Festus says, it is just 18 months to the 2023 general elections, and it's not surprising that campaign activities have started, both online and offline. While both Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu and VP Professor Osinbajo are competent to be APC's presidential flag bearers, the selection of the presidential candidate and other leaders must be democratic and transparent to all APC members and other groupings within the party.
Well, Ahiwe says the APC presidential candidate support groups are distracting the current leadership of Nigeria. The groups should redirect their energy towards bringing the country out of the mess it has found itself. The APC is yet to fulfill any of the promises made to Nigerians in 2015. Rather, the party has brought hardship to citizens. The choice of the next president is not a priority at the moment. Nigerians will choose the president when it's time.
Don Nicholas says about the budget proposal, incessant borrowing to fund budget deficit is not economically viable. Borrowing today will certainly affect posterity because it's easier to borrow than to pay back. Diversification of the economy will position Nigeria to generate more revenue to fund our budget.
Oladele says we should be wary of budget deficit. While it is not that bad for a country to run on the deficit, as it will be bad if a country runs into a prolonged deficit, in that each year the country's deficit adds into the country's sovereign debt. Our budget deficit usually comes from structural spending that signals bad behavior from some government activity. The only thing that counts when you look at some values is what is it supposed to do and how effective and justified is it towards the nation's main goal.
Well, I guess that's it.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching and have a wonderful day. I'm Ayo Makinde.
I'm Chamberlain, so goodbye.